it's in some ways advantageous that there's 6 clients and however many attorneys, because it slows everything down. In a trial by yourself, if you're the sole attorney, something could happen unforeseen and you're kind of caught off guard, and then you have to adjust and do your best to adjust, and you might not have time to think everything through. In this particular situation, there's 2 things going on. First of all, 6 people are doing cross-examination. 6 people are objecting. 6 people are thinking about these issues. So that's helpful. It slows the process down when unforeseen events come up. But also, and this is going to sound, kind of like I'm kissing up, but these other attorneys are just a great support system. I mean, I knew Brian, and of course we all know what a great attorney Brian is. I knew Brian. I did not know Doug. I knew Carrington, but not nearly to the level I know now. I never met Nicole Westmoreland. I knew Bruce Harvey, but to a limited degree. Keith Adams I knew. But I've gotten to know all these people so much more intimately and better now. And we're at a situation, we all have our different views. We all have our different interests with our clients, but we're able to lean on each other. And that has been really, like, if I can take one positive from this experience right now, is just relationships that I've developed with all my colleagues. That has been really helpful. And that when something unforeseen happens, who else would I want there but Brian and Keith and Bruce and Nicole and Carrington and Carrington Jr. and all them to say, hey, what should we do? What should I do? And then you get so much input, and it's really invaluable. So I'm very thankful for them in this process.
I've noticed especially that, it's the proximity of where you sit, but you said you didn't even know Nicole before the case, but you two seem to share a lot of insights and stuff. At least when the cameras are on you, you seem to have a really cordial relationship there. So can you talk about?
She yells at me.
Okay.
That's pretty much what happens throughout the entire trial. She yells at me. She gets on me for things I'm not doing. She complains that I type too loud. But yeah, in all seriousness, we do have a very cordial relationship. But it's I told my wife this. I was like, I kind of have a wife at work in this trial. So.
What is your communication like with them? I know you don't want to get into it too much, but are you kind of in constant contact, bouncing ideas off each other, or because you're serving your own client's interests, is it a little bit more limited how you're communicating? What can you say about that?
No, it's not limited at all. I'm friends. I'm friends with all of them, but I'm very close friends with Brian. So, I talk to Brian all the time. It doesn't even have to do anything about the case. It can be about life. It can be about my family. It can be about his family. It can be about the Yankees. So we're in constant contact. I'm in constant contact with Doug and the rest of them. I love them all. So we certainly bounce ideas off each other. I'm not going to pretend that we don't. But we've kind of, we're hanging out with each other all day, every day for a year, 2 years. So yeah, we've all become close.
Have you found that the conditions that you're working under, the problems with Judge Glanville, the antagonistic relationship with DA Love especially, has that brought you all more together?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's the shared experiences that you're all dealing with, both personally and legally. There, somebody was pointing out in the chat that Judge Glanville really seems to not like you. Is there any thought that he had a turning point on you, or can you talk about if you thought the judge developed any kind of particular view of you?
I've tried a case before in front of Judge Glanville. I don't have any bad history with Judge Glanville. I don't. I can't think of anything. I understand, I'm not, I see things. I know what people have been saying. I don't have any bad history about him. In my nature, my nature is not to assume bad motives in the worst of people. So when I get yelled at, I don't assume that it's a grudge. I don't assume that it's intentional. And a lot of people have reached out to me and said, you need to stick up for yourself. You need to stand up for yourself. And I understand that. And I don't want people to think that I'm a pushover. But, my focus has been about Shannon. It's not really about me. If Shannon can go home, people can yell at me all day, every day. I'm good with that.
Yeah, if it makes the judge feel better to yell at you and he's a little more fair in the trial, then who knows. But I don't think you guys would say that that's what was going on. It seemed, I mean, I talked about this with Doug last night. It seemed like the inherent problem with the case is how long it is. And I don't know how much you can get into what your previous case was with Judge Glanville, but is it safe to say it was maybe no case is normal, but was it normal in terms of the length? I mean, are we talking this was a trial that was like 2 weeks or something?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a probably 4-day trial. So
yeah.
It was a much more typical case. So yeah, that could be the difference. And again, I don't want to impute. My interest is not to make Judge Glanville look bad or good. And I don't take any pleasure in having to move. I know I didn't sign the motion, but we have the Harvey Rule in effect, and the Harvey Rule is when someone brings a motion, everyone's, unless you specifically opt out, everyone's assumed to have been part of the motion. So I had another member of the press reach out to me after Doug and Brian filed their motions to recuse and said, why aren't you filing a motion to recuse? Is it safe to assume you don't support their motion? I said, no, I do support their motion. It's just the Harvey Rule was in effect, and it didn't seem like an effective use of time to file a duplicative motion when it's already on the record. So, so I certainly supported the motion to recuse. I think it was very necessary, and I think that Judge Krause made ultimately the appropriate ruling. But again, at this point, my focus is not at all. I know why people ask me that, but my focus is not at all on Judge Glanville. And, I'll probably be in front of Judge Glanville again, and I'd want him to be a fair judge to me. And so I'm not trying to impute bad motives on that man at all. I respect him, and, I wish him the best.